Okay, so we'll call the March 18th meeting of the Arts Committee to order. And the first item of business are the minutes of February 18th.
This is Katie. I'll move approval.
Okay.
I'll second.
Who was the second? Michelle?
Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a first, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. So the next item of business is percent for arts program discussion. Christina and Katie and I and Abby had a discussion about this a week or so ago, and Christina has done a very good job of drafting an ordinance that, if I understand it properly, Abby, it would next have to go to the Plan Commission. Is that true?
Yeah, I think it probably should go as a recommendation to the Plan Commission before it would go to the Finance Committee and Common Council. This is just a kind of an overview of how the program would work. If the council supports moving in this direction, then they would send it to the License and Ordinance Committee, and our city attorney would draft an actual ordinance that would fit into the city's code and create a new requirement. Christina did a phenomenal job on this. I took it to our TIF project management team, which is made up of our city administrator, finance director, some outside consultants, as well as some city staff members. And I wanted to just get their thoughts on it before we moved ahead. And the comments that they gave were, they wanted to check with the city attorney on the question of whether, once the funds are collected from the TIF and put into the Arts Committee non-lapsing fund, are there the same expenditure requirements that the TIF district has? So for example, TIF District 3, the expenditure period for that district ends in 2025. So the clarifying question is, you know, do we have to spend those funds before 2025, or once they're put into that fund, can it be carried over beyond the life of the expenditure period of the TIF district? And then, so I need to check on that with our attorneys. And then there was something in here on the types of public art, and I thought that this is a good catch and not something that I thought of previously, but events, public performance, and temporary public art were listed here, and they felt that it would only be appropriate for TIF to be used to fund capital expenditures, so like something that's going to last more than 5 years and not an event or a temporary piece of art. So that might require some editing.
I'll hang up then, thank you.
Oh, are you there, Molly?
Yes, I had to get phone help for my daughter.
Oh, okay, no worries. Oh, I see Megan's here too. Hello to you both. Molly, we can't see you yet. Are you just calling in?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, can we go with that for today?
Yes, we're good with that.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. And
Abby, I
then,
have a question.
oh, sure.
So if we wanted to use some of this for, say, events or live music or something like that, performances, could we have part of it in the revolving fund and have a specific amount that we would spend every year for things that were less permanent, and then have, you know, maybe just a percentage of what we get, like 15% or something, so that we would have that option, and then the rest of it be used for some more permanent things?
Well, their initial reaction was that it needed to be, you know, permanent art, but I can check and see. I can check and see if you know, a portion of it would be possible. So maybe I'll check with our city attorney when I ask him about the expenditure period question.
Thanks.
Mhm. And then there was something in here that talked about functional, let's see, where is that? Okay, I think it's under what counts as public art. Yeah, so under what counts as public art, let's see.
Like right where your cursor is, functional art and public realm furnishings.
Yeah, but that is showing that that does count, correct?
Yeah, and under number 2, what does not count is functional items or site landscaping. Is that where you mean?
Yes, that's where I mean. Thank you, Katie. Sorry, my son just came home and was crying because I hadn't said hi to him when he came in.
Oh,
He was distracting me. So yes, functional items. That was where our public works director thought that it kind of seemed like art didn't have a function. He thought it kind of seemed like negative towards artwork. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's like common terminology to say if an item is functional, it doesn't count toward public art, but he thought that that should be removed. So that's something you guys can talk about and think about. And then just an easy fix on the non-lapsing fund. Anywhere where it's referred to as the committee's non-lapsing fund, it should say the city's non-lapsing fund, because it is managed by the arts committee, but ultimately any expenditures do have to get approved by the city council. And they were concerned that if this went to the council, that it would look like the council didn't have authority over the final expenditures of the money, and that it might rub some of the council the wrong way. And then lastly, our TIF consultant from Vanderwall suggested that we include in this just a little bit of information about the standard like RFP selection process that the arts committee uses, because he said that he was doing some consulting work with a public art committee in Muncie, Indiana, and that they were proposing to spend some money on public art, and it became really controversial about who got to select the works and how the process was handled. And he thought that it just might be better to let the council know, because they're not, you know, they don't see this stuff every day, so don't know that we have that request for proposals and we select, you know, finalists, and then we ask them to create a proposal, and you know, all the process that we've normally used, which Christina, you're probably not familiar with, so I can try to send something to you on that.
Yeah, or if you have a document that I can reference, I'm fine going to find the information. Everything that's in those is pretty much copied and pasted from either the public art master plan or the city, another city document. I don't remember which one.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Under the art, what counts as art and what doesn't count, that one?
Yeah, and like who approves and how constituted, all that stuff is like copy and paste from other documents.
Oh, okay.
So my feelings are not hurt by changing any of this language, because a lot of it is just grabbed from other documents.
Well, actually, when I took it to the TIF team and they just suggested these like wording changes, I was like, really? Okay. Because I was afraid that they would fundamentally like be like, no, you can't do it. It's too much. You know, you need to, you know, change it dramatically. So
that's great to hear.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that the group does include our mayor and one elected official. One other elected official.
I mean, we're not asking for a ton when you're getting $9 million of a project. Like, hopefully we can like 0.5%. Come on, eat that out.
So what should we do next? Should we go back and revise this some more before we forward it to the Plan Commission, or do you want to send it to the city attorney, right, Abby?
Well, I want to meet with him at our next legal review meeting and go over these questions
Okay,
that have come up, just to make sure that we're all on the same page before it goes to the council.
okay,
I'm fine making, I'll take another crack and make these little wording tweaks. I'm totally fine with removing the functional items bit from number 2, changing the possessive of the non-lapsing funds. And then if you have a document that shows your RFP selection process, I'll add that.
Okay,
and take that. So I'll make some edits and then send you the document to take on. I don't think there's anything the larger group right now has to do.
cool. Sounds good.
so we don't need any action at this point from the committee. I mean, as far as a motion or anything,
I don't think so.
okay? Should we go on to the Public Art Master Plan Addendum, Meg? I thought I saw Meg here.
She's here.
I am here. I'm not really sure what we're going to discuss about this right now.
Oh, there
though.
you are.
It needs some more tweaking. I think Abby and Katie and I need to kind of hash it out a little bit more.
Okay,
But look how beautiful it is now.
I was
that Meg
mystified
laid
by
it out.
the Latin. I had to look up and see what that was or what it meant.
Oh, the filler.
Yeah, that's something designers use to put in copy when we don't have copy.
Yeah,
Is
well,
it lorem ipsum?
Yep.
that's what I discovered.
So I haven't updated any of the maps or anything. I mean, it still needs a lot of work and it has a bunch of filler copy. I had to edit the charts down quite a bit to fit vertically. However, I did find with the charts that Rochelle, was that her name, Rochelle?
Mm-hmm.
That she started for us, there were a lot of blank columns, so I think it's okay. But like I said, I really think Katie and Abby and I need to kind of go in here, and Rob, if you want to as well, or anyone, I guess, for that matter, just like nitpick it and like rip it apart.
What would be the best way to do that, Meg? Should we like send you like like if we have suggested language for this one, should we email it to you, or should we do like a work session where you have the document open, or should we, like, what's the best way for us to work on it with you?
I've done both ways, so I guess it comes down to your time and how much time you have. Maybe the first step would be to, if you have copy that you want to put in there, I could update the document with the copy that you already have, resend it to just like you and Katie, and then we could meet virtually and go through it like page by page.
Okay.
Meg, do you have specific areas where you have questions you would like to ask of, Katie and Abby and so on?
No, not really. Everything that's in there right now that isn't Latin, I picked up from either the master plan or from the documents from Michelle. So it's not
Okay.
like nothing was made up or anything that's in there. So,
But
I
you
mean,
don't think in other words, you're just concerned about filling in the parts that are presently in Latin?
yeah, that and the charts I think they're probably missing things, that just weren't on the documents to begin with.
Okay,
So maybe what we do is, as a small working group, we update it to the best of our ability, and then we send it to the rest of the group, and then people can fill in what we're missing.
okay,
Sounds really good.
yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Awesome job, Meg.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Thanks.
Should we go on to project idea for historical street notes?
Oh,
So-
yeah, this was a follow-up from our last meeting where Molly had suggested putting the historical images on, or the T-Well project to do the historical images, and then we talked about tying that in with historical notes. Does everyone remember that on the sidewalk?
Stencils.
Yeah, stencils. So I just quickly, after the meeting, I just quickly looked up some pricing to see how bad it was, and it really is quite affordable, I think. I think I
And
have pricing in there.
I don't know if this is a project that a younger student could work on, but I had a young student from Cromery reach out, and she needs to do a some kind of public civic project for a class.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked specifically about whether she could paint a mural somewhere. And I was like, well, I was trying to think of like a place, you know, like a public place where we could do that. And I couldn't immediately think of anything that would be visible and like appropriate. And I don't know what she wanted to do. But anyway, I thought about this. This might be something she could help out with.
Mm-hmm. That sounds
Does
good.
she want to paint something on a wall, or could she paint it on a sidewalk?
I think her initial thought was a wall, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like we might need to direct it a little bit if it's going to be on public property, and like, you know, if we're going to take it on as like a project that the city's willing to allow and maintain and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that could be done jointly with Cromrie? I mean, do they have an arts department there?
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure they do. I just didn't know if that age group was okay to work with on something like this. Like, it seems like if you've already like done the work to have the stencil, it's just simply a matter of like laying the stencil and painting it at that point. That, I mean, seems like it would be easier for a kid to do something like that, but I don't
You know,
know.
because sometimes kids do joint projects. I mean, we have a painting on our wall, I think, from when one of our kids was in the 4th grade, and it's got the autographs, I think, of everybody who was in that class on the back of it. It's quite a big piece. It's hanging on our wall, but maybe they could do something similar outdoors. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll talk to her a little bit. She's left me a voicemail, but I've tried, we can't connect. I'm not sure what our schedule's like. I'm guessing she's at school during the day. So I'll
Okay.
see.
Okay, sounds good.
One thing that I was thinking is maybe it would be better if we somehow were able to make like a big canvas, almost like we did at the salt shed, so that it is removable. If it's on a wall, like on public property, like if we can make something where we just frame it out and wrap it with some sort of like waterproof canvas, so that when it does start fading or looking shabby, we can just take it down.
That's a good idea.
Although that costs more, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess depending on the wall, you could just paint over it. But sometimes you
Yeah.
still see the paint strokes.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah, I honestly just really couldn't think of any like city building that we could lend to make available for it. Like, we have brick and
yeah, it's almost like we need to go and scout out some potential locations.
yeah. Did you do that last time, or did Kathy Olson? I can't remember.
I started it. I think she took over, which was kind
Okay.
of funny.
All right. Well, just when we're walking around, we can think about it.
Yeah. So back to the stencils, there's prices on the second page. So it was like a disjointed email that I sent to Abby back to back. But the first one was examples with links. And the second one was pricing. And it was $42 for the larger size and $32 for the smaller size.
Now, those are existing, they're not custom stencils, are they?
Yes,
Yeah,
Existing.
they are. You like upload your design.
Oh,
that's really cool.
But I mean, I think it would have to be pretty simple, you know, like just words. But
okay.
so I don't know
So-
where we want to go from there.
How do you think we should proceed?
Put it in our plan, or did you already? I don't remember if you put it in.
I don't remember either. Like I said,
Abby, is there still, I'm sorry to interrupt, is there an historic, some kind of committee that does anything with historic landmarks or anything that might have part of a budget that they would want to donate to this project, combine with us?
The landmarks committee has an annual budget of $400.
Okay, so never mind.
It's been the same for like 20 years. It's never been increased. They do have a bigger allocation right now because they got some funding from the Tourism Commission to update the plaques, the landmark plaques. So they're redesigning and like updating all of the plaques around the city, and they're gonna go take all the old ones down, put the new ones up because all the information is out of date. But that's like a $10,000 project, but that was funded by tourism.
Okay. Just a thought.
It might be a good idea to partner with them and maybe also the Historical Society, because they are very knowledgeable about the history. And if we're looking for like little quirky facts about things that happened in different places,
Yeah.
we should like have like a little outdoor walking tour with them and like walk around the landmark sites and get some inspiration or something. We can wear our masks and go do it in the spring.
I would love to be a part of that. That would be very cool.
Was that you, Katie?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, you didn't pop up to the screen, so I thought that was your voice.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, that would be fun. So we could have like maybe a smaller group of people go and do that and help put that together.
Cool.
There's one event that you wouldn't want, but some years ago, there was a great golf ball drop on the top of the hill at Parmenter Street, from South Avenue down. I came home at after midnight one night, and here were these hundreds and hundreds of golf balls rolling down and jumping over the sidewalk. And that was a lot of years ago. And I'm still occasionally digging one out of my front garden.
What for? Like, why did they do that?
It was
like a prank or something?
High school boys, at that time.
Oh.
Having fun.
That actually does seem like a cool one to put a stencil about.
That would be very cool, and it could be right on your front sidewalk, Molly.
Yeah, you would love that, right, Molly?
It could be part of the historic walk.
Yeah, well, some of them, it started a little bit higher up, about where the very much needed sign for crossing Parmenter Street at South is. A little bit above that.
Okay.
That was quite a sight.
Do you remember when
Molly
that
will
was?
be our best source of information for this.
Do you remember how long ago that was, Molly?
It's a lot of years. Because I haven't been out after midnight in some decades.
Okay. So what's next?
Oops, here, let me go back up to the agenda. Sorry. Here we go. Next is
Project idea highlighting senior artists. Meg, did you have some ideas about that? Can't hear you.
You're muted.
Sorry. Yes, in Brighton, Michigan, we were just visiting our grandparents there. They had this fun display that was highlighting senior artists. And I was thinking about that grant that Abby was talking to us about. Was that last meeting, the meeting before?
Yep, the AARP one.
And I was thinking this might work if the seniors weren't okay with doing the haiku project we had originally discussed. Although again, it runs in the same issue of where is this posted? I don't know, I guess that we need to discuss a little bit more. But it basically was these images of artists, and then they do like a little bio on them, and they just post, I mean, it's very simple. They just posted them on the wall. You can see they're all right next to each other, and it says what kind of art they do. And then there's like a little piece of paper saying, I can't remember what it calls. They had a name for it. The Story of Us photography exhibit. But I mean, this could kind of wrap in a lot of different people and different types of art. And, you know, Rob could be our photographer if he's willing to donate his services, you know, like, and it's pretty low cost because all you need are those plexi hangers. And you have to print the photos. Those would be really large, but, you know, I'm sure that one of our printing buddies would help us out there. So it might be a little bit more attainable than trying to coordinate a haiku project.
Yeah, and I think that's on our agenda as well, just an update on that. At the last meeting, I told you guys that the deadline to submit the application was today. And so we were like scrambling around and trying to make sure we had everything done because the application was going to be due. But I had that wrong. It's actually 4/18. So it's a month from today. So we have some time, which is good because on the warning signs project, Molly sent me the information for who handles the writers group at the senior center. And also Tammy Derrickson, our senior center director, gave me contact information for Ted Quincy at the senior center, who like kind of pulls the group together. And Molly, you were right, they haven't regularly been meeting since the pandemic. Ted sent them the information, and apparently the reception has been, as Molly predicted, pretty lukewarm. I told him that we would sweeten the pot by giving him a $25 gift card to Sofra for participating. So Ted was gonna send something back out to the group and let them know about that and see if anybody was interested. I haven't heard anything back from him since then, but if you guys decided to shift gears, we could do something like this project instead, or we could stick with warning signs. And if the senior center decides not to participate, we could still work with the high school students.
Sounds good.
So do you have a preference of whether you want to do the warning signs or you want to shift gears and go to like something like this? Oh, I guess the other thing I should just mention quickly is that the senior center is also applying for this same grant. They are going to be applying for an update to the signage inside the senior center so right now all of their signage is in English, and so they're going to add other languages. But I looked at the application, it didn't say anything about not being able to submit 2 applications from one community or anything like that. And I told the senior center director that I would defer to her because it's an AARP grant, but she said she was okay with 2 applications.
Cool.
So would you rather do warning signs or would you want to go more in this direction? It's up to you.
Did we
Should
have a
see if
deadline?
they
that the
get
senior-
back to you?
Sorry. Do we have a deadline that the senior center was going to have to let you know by if they wanted to participate?
No, I don't think so. He was going to email him the second time. I think it was on Tuesday of this week. But I would think if it's like Tuesday of next week and they still haven't replied, then we should probably shift gears. The application's really easy. It won't take long to put together.
So do you need anything more from us? I mean, do we know which direction we want to go in? An application to emphasize the senior artists.
I love this idea.
I mean,
think
sorry.
no, it's great. I think it'd be great to highlight some of these artists.
I think we could do this either way. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know that we have to do one or the other. We just need to pick which one we're going to do the grant for, right? Does it have to say in the grant what it's going to be used for?
Yeah, because they I mean, that's what's gonna like grab their attention and make them wanna give us the money.
So should we make a plan that if we don't hear back by next Tuesday from the senior center, that we're going to move on with this idea? Or whatever date?
Do we have like a group of seniors in mind as an easily identifiable group of senior artists to feature with an idea like this? Or this is just a format that we like? Because Meg identified, or Molly, I'm sorry, the writers group that was going to help with this first part of it. Is there an easily identifiable and definable group for this? Because I think that might impact how we move on it.
Good question. I don't know if there is like an art group at the senior center, but I do know that they were very excited to participate in the project that we did a few years ago, but it was mostly quilts. Remember they had submitted a bunch of their quilting pictures. So I don't know.
I was thinking we already knew a bunch of artists like Barb Vader and people that helped were at the art walk we could utilize. We have a whole list of artists. The only problem with that is I don't think we have ages of them.
I see. Okay, yeah. So I was thinking we were working through the senior center, like through the people who regularly attend the senior center. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's possible that there's a lot of crossover between artists that we've worked with in the past that also attend the senior center.
We probably don't know anything about the artists who contributed to the art wall in the library. I mean, as far as their age is concerned.
Mhm.
Probably not. I don't think we kept any of that.
Okay.
You'd almost have to create some kind of like Google form application and send it to your previous art walk participants and say, sorry, you have to self-identify your age to, and then submit like, an application of interest to participate in some of this. So it requires a certain amount of comfort with technology to help to kind of maybe go that route. But I use Google Forms like every single day for applications and stuff like that. And it seems to be the easiest point of entry that might, be able to contact a big list and have them say, yes, I'm interested. Here's my information.
Mm-hmm.
The warning sign, I mean, that's attractive because it's already quite like planned out and decided. Especially like if, yes, the senior center writing group doesn't work out, sending it to the high school kids, that's already kind of like a check. And then you can apply for the grant and maybe pursue this as a separate opportunity.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Plus the warning signs would probably be more permanent. Because if we had a location for these, we don't know how long we're gonna have the wall space. I know the library, well, Christina was gonna talk to our library director because they're ordering some items for their gallery that they're creating in the new space. They did a fundraising campaign to refresh the library. So they probably would be willing to feature something there once they're open again.
What about the lobby in the senior center?
Yep, that would be a possibility also.
And then also I had mentioned to you, Abby, that Edith Sylvester heads up a writing group, and I don't know if she might be a possibility or someone who might be able to help us compile a list of writers, maybe. Would
I
be
know that
interested.
writing group. And they're not just Middleton people. It was Ann Shorts who was did the historic tours for years and years and was retired from university extension and taught writing classes for over 20 years, 25 years after she retired. And
So,
there is
does
a
it
group-
have to be only Middleton artists? Can it be artists from around the Madison area too? Or are we locked into just Middleton artists?
These are writers.
I mean, writers.
Yeah, they're from Stoughton and they're a group of people. Some are Stoughton and some are Madison, and some come in from Mount Horeb. It's a group of probably about 15 people. Although there is a local, well, no, that's not. There are two writing groups among seniors. One is headed by Catherine Parith from Middleton, Maple Street. What the beautiful garage door is not. This is off the subject, but I used to go past her house and enjoy her garage door, which is a work of herself, helped by her then 8th grade daughter. And it was such a pleasure seeing that because it was refreshing rather than looking at all of the flying geese or the flying ducks that were kind of uniform at that time.
What street is she on?
Catherine Maple Street. Catherine has been heading the writing group for more than 10 years.
Okay.
Molly, is that the one with a big kind of garden painted on the garage?
Yes, yes.
I know that garage.
But Catherine's group isn't exclusively for seniors, I thought. Because Catherine used to write for me.
Yes.
But I didn't think it was exclusively for seniors.
Oh, no. Well, the class that that I hired her for was pretty much seniors. It started through the senior center when they recruited Ann Short to head them at the senior center by Hilldale. And then it outgrew that space, and then so it divided into two writing classes. One at one near CUNY Mutual, and then one at the senior center. So she had 40 students.
Wow.
Do you want me to contact Catherine and talk to her about if she knows writers that would be interested? She knows a lot of people.
And well, her people are not, she would know a lot of writers, but they're not necessarily from Middleton. Peggy Markson was one of hers, and Peggy's having a book published by the Historical Society coming out this fall.
Cool.
The state
She's a neighbor of mine.
Yes.
So there might be some other options, it sounds like. Maybe we could write the application so that it's mostly seniors and other, people, and we don't have to say they're Middleton residents. And I don't think that the grant would care if they're all Middleton residents or not.
Should I contact Catherine and ask her if she has people that would be interested?
Yeah, and I'm in Catherine's group.
Oh, you are? You're in the group, Molly?
Yes.
Are you going to write a haiku for us?
I don't do haikus, no.
Oh. All right, well, maybe you can ask her, Molly.
Yeah, I talked to her today by email, and I will ask her.
Cool, thank you.
I had another concern. When we're talking, I know that you work with the historic markers and designations.
The landmarks? Mm-hmm.
And the house next to mine, which is on the corner of Terrace and Parmenter, was Middleton's first post office.
Oh.
And that doesn't have a designation on it.
Do you know if the owner is interested? Because they have to apply.
Well, the owners it was in the Aarp family, and it's still in the Aarp family, but it's owned by a couple of brothers now. And none of them are in Middleton, but I could get a hold of them.
Yeah, there's a subcommittee right now of the Landmarks Commission, and they're looking at other properties that should be added. And they're going to try to reach out to the property owners and encourage them to fill out the application. So is it right on the corner, Molly, or is it the greenhouse that Tony reads on?
It's right on the corner.
Right on the corner, okay.
Is the White House, Molly?
White House, yes.
Okay.
That's the one when they did the remodeling, they found the post office bulletin board with the newspaper of the assassination of Lincoln.
Oh my God.
And the reward poster with a photo of a man wanted for murder.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So what you just said is like the perfect information to put on the stencil. That's like fascinating for people when they're walking around to like read that. I think that would be such a cool story.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, they couldn't save it because when it hit the air, it crumbled in a while.
Molly, you've just created 2 of our stencils already in less than an hour.
Yep. Yeah, I think we all just need to take a walk with Molly.
Right?
Well, when you're entering the belt line on Greenway and turning onto Terrace Avenue, one sees the Capitol Brewery. And before the Capitol Brewery, it was Mazo Egg Company. And then across from that is the Little Red Preschool with a historic landmark designation on one of the buildings. And proceeding down the block past some older homes to Aurora Street, there's another historic landmark building that is now a duplex. When it was built, it was Middleton's first church.
The little white church on the hill.
Yep. And then there's a few houses, and on my block or on Terrace Avenue, the house that's appeared many times in the Wisconsin State Historical Society is the greenhouse.
Mhm.
That's next to the Acre House.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a cool house.
Yep. It is. That's been in so many State Historical Society publications and other publications.
Hmm.
And someone could get the history of that house. And then Baltus is another house right in that block.
Mhm.
The Baltus family have been here. Mr. Baltus's grandfather was Madison's first zookeeper.
Cool.
Interesting.
I love all this.
Well, I've been here since 1965.
Fantastic.
So are we on now to AAR? No, we talked about the AARP grant. So are updates on marketing and communication?
Yes, that's me. So we had a meeting last month. Meg and Maria and I met and we discussed a marketing strategy kind of, and some of the things that we would be working on. And so I'm just going to kind of go through them real quick. So one of the things that we talked about was doing a monthly art feature in the newspaper, kind of like we do the History Spotlight for the History Center, and featuring an artist once a month. And so that was one of the things that we thought that we could do. Certainly I will donate the space for that. That's not a problem. So we kind of wanted to get some opinions on these things that I'm going to bring up. So that was the first one. So do you guys have some input on that? Do you think that's a good idea, bad idea?
Who would write it?
I'm not sure who we would get to compile the information. Like, we haven't gotten that far. That can be worked out. That's not, if I had a list of artists, I could contact them and just have them submit a bio and, take a photo of them or have them submit a photo. We could maybe do a photo with them with a piece of their artwork, preferably, or, if they prefer just their artwork to be featured, then that's okay too. So that's kind of what we were thinking.
How would it tie into the arts committee? Would it be like?
It'd be a feature like we have for Rowley House, like the Middleton Historical Society is listed as, the group that's providing that information. And so we would probably structure it in some way like that with the arts committee logo or the arts committee mention at the top in the header with, I don't know if you guys have seen the history spotlight that we do once a month. But it's basically a border. Jeff Martin sends me a picture and information every month. And then, he kind of tells me if he wants it in at a certain time, if there's an event that's, kind of coincides with this picture or something. And then, I format it. I had our graphics department do a border for it. That Jeff approved, so I could have Brenda do something as well for that. It would be something that would make us visible and give more visibility to the artists that would not cost anything.
Great.
I think we could utilize our artists in Middleton list that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we discussed as well. So is that a yay or a nay? Should I proceed forward with that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay, so that was the first thing. And then we also discussed doing some kind of collaboration with Good Neighbor Fest. Something, you know, some kind of kids art project or something that would also give us public visibility. One of the things we discussed at our meeting was that we don't have a lot of visibility, and there are a lot of people that don't even know Middleton has an arts committee. And so we were trying to think of some easy, cost-effective ways that we could get the word that we even exist out there more. So, you know, I don't know what we could do specifically, but one of the things that we worked on at the Arts Festival that I chaired was Grant Wood. It was a Grant Woods Art Festival, and one of the things he did was these flower pots called Lilies of the Alley, and he took found objects and he put concrete in flower pots and he made flowers out of these found objects. And so we did a project like that where we just took a bunch of random things. Kids could adhere them to these flower stems that we already had sticking out of the concrete. So, I mean, it can be something really simple and easy, you know, but I thought, and the other members on the marketing committee thought that, you know, we could maybe do something with the festival. And they are supposed to be in person this year, have a live festival. So,
Can I chime in real quick?
yeah.
I just had a meeting with Dan Barker on Tuesday, and he's on the CDA, and he's trying to get an effort together to do this like artisans on the green, or I'm not sure what it's going to be called, but basically his vision is every weekend they'll have something on Stonehorse Green until it's built, you know, like just while it's empty. And he threw out like getting that, getting like the Irish dancers that the library uses, or maybe one weekend, he's talking about like once a weekend, I think. One weekend they could do like a glass blower like we had at the Art Walk. He mentioned music. I think that one's a little more challenging with Capital, but because you don't want them to compete. But that could be another opportunity for us to kind of collaborate with the CDA and some of the other committees. The library has a bunch of stuff that they do too. So maybe we could even coordinate with them when they have events in the future. But yeah, I guess we need to figure out what exactly we're going to bring to the table. But I just wanted to mention that could be another potential where we could collaborate with the other.
If we ever get the lighting installation in Stonehorse Green, that would certainly be a good landmark for the Arts Committee, but that's a bit in the future.
For the art ideas, I know a retired art teacher from Middleton, and I think she would cooperate maybe even with other retired art teachers who could come up with some ideas.
Well, and we had considered doing stuff with the schools too, you know, and I don't know what the feasibility of that would be with the Good Neighbor Fest being in the summertime and school being out of session. I don't know what the feasibility of that would be, but I think we have different options, but that's something we thought maybe we could pursue this year. And then we also talked about doing a grant program for local artists to encourage them, you know, to create artwork. We had discussed a $500 grant, you know, and so that's something that we can talk about. We didn't really go into great detail in how we might structure that, unless I'm forgetting something. Meg, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was just one of the things we came up with as an idea.
Yeah, I think that was one of Maria's things she really wants to do, and it was based off of the doorways that Madison did. And so I think she was thinking we could do something like that pretty easily, like the door. I mean, not that we need to copy them, but you know, something similar where I guess, I don't know. Let's wait until Maria's here because she might explain it a little bit differently, and I'm afraid I'm going to say it wrong.
Maybe we should talk about that one next time when she's
That's a good idea.
When she's here. Yeah. And since you brought Maria up, Maria has also offered, that's further down in my list, but she's also offered to help with translations for things like calls for artists and, like a flyer or a poster or something like that. We did discuss doing a newsletter, but she felt like that would be too cumbersome to translate the entire newsletter, and that, maybe it wouldn't be worth the time it took to do it. So, but she has graciously offered her time to do that. So I think, we all agreed that we think that we need to start including Spanish translation into our marketing materials. So that kind of leads up to the newsletter. We were talking about doing a digital newsletter and whether or not we could distribute that through the city. And we had a list of questions for Abby on some things as well. And let me pull that up. Let me pull that email up quick.
While you're doing that, I just had a thought. What about that high school student that contacted Abby? If we could do like a live painting, of course, we'd have to figure out what it would be on, but like a live painting event in coordination with like the Good Neighbor Fest or like one of the Artisan on the Green things.
That's interesting. And I wonder if there might be some place we could display it at the park, Fairmount Park.
Or even like, I know this is maybe controversial being called art, but like the yarn bombing idea, like something like that, like wrapping a tree in different colored yarn. Something like that. I don't know.
I have an oak tree that's older than the state of Wisconsin that would love to be yarn bombed.
I've seen chain link fence that has been yarn bombed. It's very interesting.
We'll just add those to the list, I guess.
So some of the questions that we had asked Abby were kind of questions about where we would post things, if we could, who would update the website, if we could have a dedicated Facebook and Instagram account. And some of the things that Abby said was that she would prefer that rather than having a dedicated account, that we use the city's social media, which we're okay with. And she has offered to post things when we have things that we want to go up. And same with the website. Abby has offered to post things that we need to go up on the website. In regard to the newsletter, I'm not sure, was that one of the questions? Because I don't see it on here.
I don't think I asked her anything about the newsletter, but we can now.
How would we distribute that, Abby? Would we be able to do that? Like, I know that you can sign up for notifications from the city. Could we do it through the city's notifications or some kind of listserv? How would we go about doing a digital newsletter? Where would we put it? How would we put it out there?
You could put it on Notify Me, or we could put it on, and we could put a link. We could have like a list of the different newsletters and have a link to them on the public art page. And then that way we could also post the link on Facebook. Like if we had a logo or, something created that says like public art newsletter, that would be like the banner at the top. We could post that picture with like a link or something on the Facebook page. So we could put that out on city channels, but I wouldn't have any time to be able to write it regularly. So I'm just going to warn you there. No. Like it would have to be coming from a committee member.
No, we'll handle that. And that's also kind of one of the reasons why we thought quarterly might be best, because, and we want to, the other thing is too, we'll want to highlight things that we have coming up and going on, or projects that we're working on, events that we're hosting, things like that. So we thought once a quarter was a good amount of time, or, a good amount of frequency, I guess. So that was one of the things. So okay, let's see what I've covered here. I have covered translations, I've covered the Google map that got put up on the website, right? Was that put up there or
not yet? But I have it on my to-do list and I will.
Okay. And then we talked about the newsletters. So creating a presence on social media, we kind of talked about that too. So I think that's pretty much all I have got.
I think what we discussed for social media was, to start off with, was to highlight like anniversaries of the public art that we already have, which was why I asked Abby for the dates of when they were installed. So there's some coming up here actually, I think in April, was that the most recent one?
Oh, right, the Dama.
Yeah, the first phase. So like say we do a posting on Facebook that was like, you know, we have a picture of it and then we do like a short little description of like who the artist was, when it was installed, and just say something like 1 year anniversary, I don't know, whatever.
That's cool. I like that idea.
Just to call out some of the art that we already have, because some people might drive by it all the time and not realize that we helped with it. And then another thing that we could tie in eventually when we get to that point is the featured artists that we would put in the newspaper. We also could do a Facebook post with the same artists just to call more attention. And then the work's already done anyway, so it should be pretty simple.
Yep. So basically that's what we talked about, was just kind of trying to increase our presence and let people know that we're here and try to make some community connections between the committee and other groups.
Sounds good.
One trivia is that there was a book written on the best trees in Wisconsin, and the best tulip tree is on Middleton Street in the stone house that was Montgomery Ward or Sears Roebuck House.
That's my friend's house, Carrie. She works for the city.
Yes,
Which street?
Middleton Street, just down by the Parmenter Street Hill, and then to the right when you're going down the hill. It's
Okay.
It's the catalog house.
Cool.
Which it came to the catalog houses came in on the railroad, and then with the makings of to make your own stones at the depot, and then haul them over by ox cart, and then there was a booklet of how to put the house together.
Wow.
Gosh.
That's amazing.
But it is an impressive tree. I used to have the book, but I don't think I have it anymore.
Should we go on to updates on maintenance?
Hi, yes, I can do that.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, everyone. We don't have Michael with us, unfortunately, unless he's arrived recently. Let me find my document here. Okay, so the last 2 pages of our packet. Page 24 is the maintenance plan that we adopted in 2010. And in my opinion, we haven't really followed this at all. The next page is sort of like a little bit of a bullet list of things that I think that are questions that we as a group need to answer so that we can sort of get ahead of the next restoration projects that we have coming at us. We were a little bit blindsided by the quadrants rust treatment. And we didn't have any money set aside for that rather. So I'm just proposing that we be a little bit more proactive and have a written plan for continuity as people change through the committee.
That probably should include anything that gets funded through the Percent for Arts program as well.
Yes, I did a little bit of research about that, and I have seen that some cities set aside 10% of their Percent for Arts proceeds to put into a fund for conservation. maintenance.
Mm.
I also asked around a little bit for foundations that purchase art with the intent of restoring it and then giving it away. And the number I kept coming up against was 5%. So if an entity was going to purchase some artwork or commission some artwork, in their minds, they added 5% to the cost, and that 5% had to go into some sort of fund. We need to be a little bit careful to not think of that, I think, as that money being for that particular piece of artwork, because I think we need to create an account that is kind of for surprises in addition to just regular maintenance.
Anything else you would like to mention with respect to maintenance?
Well, what I'd like is hopefully we can get, we'll have a chance to read through this, and we can have, during one of our meetings, we can answer, these are some pretty basic questions. Who should examine the artwork, for example? At what should be the means by which we keep track of things? I looked into some databases for keeping track of artwork and maintenance, and I'm concerned that our collection is small enough that it doesn't make sense to pay for something, especially if it's going to become obsolete or need to be updated. I feel like we're a small enough collection that we should just do something very simple, but I would need guidance on what's appropriate, like what does the city use? For example, that could you use a Google Doc, or would it have to be a database that's shareable or private? And those are the kind of things I don't know, but I'm happy to create it. I would just need some input on what is allowed.
Do you think we can also, with respect to the research you've done with databases and with the intent to implement this percent for art, there's obviously going to be a lot of growth in our collection, which is small now, but could grow quite a bit in the near future. So I think whatever we decide on for a database should be planned growth with that new program too. So it's a good time to do this now.
Mm-hmm. I like your optimism about growing the collection.
Could it just be an Excel?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, definitely it could be.
Just for now. Is it going to have like lists of what needs to be checked and when it needs to be checked, or?
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that ideally we will have from the moment that we acquire something, but we can, I can recommend how often these things should be checked for what we have right now. It'll, and once it's established, we also need to determine who's going to be in charge of keeping it up to date, who has access to it. It also should include things like when things are moved. We've had some problems in the past with things going lost for a little bit. So it's an example of using it as a working document as opposed to just going in once a year and like reviewing it. It should be, I think, something that we should have procedures in place that are always done, including, so Abby went and did all the work to find a conservator to fix the bullet holes in Self-Made Man. So I'm hoping we can use that experience to figure out how we have a system in place where we do that if it ever happens again.
It could, if it were an Excel file with like multiple sheets, we could work from it during these meetings. So like we could always on our agenda have review the maintenance files or something. And it may just be a matter of like going in and checking a few tabs, or it might be like more intense if we have a lot going on. I don't think we should do a Google Doc because our IT doesn't like those. They can't search them for public records. So they like to have things that are on the city's like system. So either like in Microsoft SharePoint or on our G drive, but they don't like things that are like external that require a separate login.
Okay, so should I make a draft on, I'm a little bit facile with Excel, but I'm not a wizard. Should I come up with a draft of what I think might be good?
Do you think you could find like a template or something to start from rather than having to create it from scratch?
I don't know of a template on Excel, but I've written enough treatment reports that I think I could do it with what I have at hand.
We do have, let me see here. Can you guys see that what I'm doing right now, or did I only share? I think I only shared my, the packet, but let me see here. Because we have the maintenance record form, and I don't know how it would interface with the Excel spreadsheet, but I wrote it into the proposal for Cricket to prepare the maintenance record for her work. Let me see. Yeah, collection records. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can share this. So, let's see. For quadrants. So this is our conservation record form. So I don't know if any of this information would also go into the Excel spreadsheet or if it would be separate.
Can you scroll down?
Yeah.
A great deal of it would. So for example, if I were a conservator who was coming in to work on a piece that had a record, I would want to see the materials used, the date, who did it, any coatings, and then, but this narrative would have to go someplace else, I would imagine. Now, can you think of, can anybody in the group think of somebody who's a whiz with Excel that I could work with to come up with the best outcome?
I have a lot of experience with Excel, although not recent experience, but I've used it
Yeah.
extensively.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll start at Rob and give you a call if
Okay.
if I run into trouble. But I like the tabs idea.
Okay.
Do you think it would be a All right, I'll have to think about that.
Like, would it be a separate tab for each piece, or could that get too unwieldy when our collection gets so big, like Christina's talking about?
Well, I suppose this would be one Excel page for each piece, but there would be a template, within that page that would apply to that piece, the costs and who did it and so on and so forth. But it could just be a blank Excel spreadsheet that would be filled in as appropriate, but there'd be a sheet for each piece of art. They could all be, compiled into a folder someplace.
Okay, I have to say this conversation is making me rethink my recommendation that we not get software.
Okay.
I don't know if this is helpful or not, but I manage my inventory system at work with my art gallery. And I have a database that is currently topping out at like 5,000 pieces. And it's fantastic. It's very user-friendly, but it's an outside cloud-based separate login system. It's called Artwork Archive. And each piece gets a record, and you can go in and you create the piece, but then you can add in when you got it, dimension, size, artist, but also things like appraisal notes, framing notes. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I use for it, but I'm sure there's maintenance notes you can add. You can add like latitude and longitude to show where it's located. Like,
Cool.
So
it's public. People can see your records.
Yeah, it is. So the gallery, you can have some pieces public and some pieces private. So you can kind of have a back end side and a front end side, and you can choose which information is visible. But it is a paid database, and it's cloud-based external. So kind of tricky. I wonder if I can go find it and put it in the chat.
That's my concern. That's my concern is that they're so streamlined and beautiful to use. I've used them in many museums, but you have to pay for it. And if it ever goes obsolete, then you're stuck with hard copies that you can't transfer. I've worked with many of them that no longer exist.
Abby, would the IT guys have any recommendations for some sort of a form we could use?
I doubt it, but I could ask.
I mean, Excel's pretty generic, so we could definitely set something up in that.
How much is yours? I mean, like, how much do you think a subscription would be for a really small collection? Do you have any idea?
Let's see.
You mean for Excel?
No, for the system that Christina was talking about.
Oh. It starts at, for an organization, it's $30 a month. So it's not cheap. That gets you up to 500 pieces, 3 users, 50 locations, appraisal tracking, contacts, reporting, invoicing, payment processing, lots and lots. Oh, a public website, integrations to WordPress, QR codes. It's kind of a lot. I can email this to Abby later if it's helpful, but.
Yeah, a really popular one that conservators are using right now is 50 British pounds a month. I don't know what that is right now, but it's called Articheck. But I just feel like we don't have that money right now to spend on that.
As the newspaper person here, I'm going to say that as long as the records are open on it, then it doesn't matter. But if somebody does an open records request for the arts committee, which I doubt would happen, but you have to be able to provide that. So, but if it's already public and we were only using it in that manner, then I think that would satisfy that.
Megan, can you email us, and Christina, can you email us a link to the 2 different services, or email it to me and I'll forward it so we can check it out?
Sure. Christina, do you have any experience with more basic software that's meant for nonprofits?
No. I'm happy to look into something and try to find something. I don't have it, in my back pocket.
For example, I just found that the service that I just looked up, they have a different pricing for nonprofits than they do so maybe yours does too.
Yeah, our gallery has been using Artwork Archive for like 6 or 7 years, and we have a grandfathered rate that's way cheaper than what they're offering now. Artwork Archive is kind of taking off in gallery and collector world. I don't really know anything about conservator world, so that's totally your wheelhouse. So it's easy for me to say right now, oh yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere, but obviously that's not something you can totally predict. But I'll send the links and I'll do some digging on pricing and see what I can find out. The The 30 a month was for organization, and it's an annual bill that you pay. But there might be different ways to tweak it. I can look into that.
What does everyone think about the idea of spending money on this in principle?
Seems like a good time to do it and build it out if we are going to get the percent for arts approved, because we could start having significant development of new works. And it seems like we need to get comfortable using a system like this and having all the information in there and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I like that. I wasn't expecting that reaction. Okay. Well, what should be the next step? What should I do next?
Send us the link.
Okay.
If you want to work on a form in Excel, let me know. But we could
Okay.
work for Christina to see if there's something else that might be already prepared and ready to go.
Yeah, don't spend like time building your own thing in Excel, because if we could get one of these programs for, I don't know, less than $1,000 a year, less than $500 a year. What do you all think?
Well, would the IT department be okay with that?
I think so. Where they get nervous is like, we'll oftentimes get an open records request and it'll ask for like keywords. So they'll be like anything that says this word, this word, this word, and this word. Well, it's really hard for them to know if anything in our files, you know, if you have like multiple departments that have these separate cloud-based systems, it's going to be really hard for them to search and know where all of those things are. So, but I'm not, like Michelle said, I'm not super worried about it, because I think if we get an open records request that's related to art committee stuff, which it's highly possible. We've gotten so many open records requests this year. It's like a full-time job keeping up with all of them. So
I noticed that this articheck that I sent you the link to, they have a you can try it for free. Possibly if we timed it correctly, we could create an account and then everybody could log in and see what they think of it. Maybe we could upload a dummy piece of artwork and try it out.
Good idea.
So it's not that crazy expensive, especially if we got like the basic subscription.
You can switch it over to US dollars if you scroll up a little ways. Right there. See, it says USD.
Oh, I think you guys are in the way. Hold on. There we go. Oops. Cool.
So we should compare this to Christina's, because I'm coming at it from the maintenance standpoint, but obviously all the collection information is just as valuable. So we should compare them and any others that we find to see what the right balance is between the art part and the maintenance part. Can anybody see how long the free trial is? I haven't been able to see that.
I thought it said 30 days.
Well, that's the business one. I think you have to, don't you have to click on the museum and nonprofit? Yeah, there.
I don't see how long the trial is though.
Didn't it say 30 days, something like that?
30-day
30-day
money
money
back
back.
Oh, it's,
guarantee.
3 months, yeah.
Cancel anytime.
Some of these types of businesses too also have essentially like tour guides. You can sign up to have a representative like give you a tour of their program, and if you can say like, here's where we're coming from, can you show us a highlight of the features that you think would work best for us? And essentially it's like asking for a sales pitch that's tailored to us, but not everybody does. But I think if we reach out and ask them and say, hey, I'm thinking about your system, but here's where I'm coming from, would it be a good fit? It wouldn't be a bad thing to do that as well during our information gathering.
Oh, actually, it said under why artichoke on the top, it says product tour. I wonder if that's pre-taped one. Oh no, it's just a list. Well, should I try and create an account, or maybe the city should create an account, and then if we all have the access to sign on, we can look at it and see what we think.
Sure.
And then maybe
I
Christina
can do
can tell
the
us.
free trial
Okay.
and then send you all the login information. Are you okay with me sending it via email?
Sure.
Okay. Anything else today?
If not, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay,
I'll second. Megan will second.
so Michelle moves, Megan seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a nice
everybody.
night.
You too.
Everybody.